Hi folks, I'm calligrapher from Japan. I'm doing calligraphy workshop every Saturday based in Edinburgh. Today we are going to learn Japanese through calligraphy. Japanese lesson with calligraphy experience. Today we are going to learn about this AOZORA. Do you know what it means? Which means like blue sky. But unfortunately today is quite gloomy sky in Edinburgh. AOZORA. This one is like a hiragana. Yeah. In my channel you can learn Japanese, how to drawing and how to draw looks more beautiful. There's also order, calligraphy and kanji orders as well. Okay, let's dive into beautiful Japanese and calligraphy world together. Let's get started with it. Here is the first stroke, a horizontal line. Next, count the vertical line, which is the second stroke. And finally, the third stroke, complete the character. For the first horizontal line, try to keep the spacing even. If you spade it slightly downward, like a trapezium, the overall balance becomes much more elegant. Also, leaving a little bit of space here created a cleaner and more refined appearance. Now, let's move on to the next character. The first stroke is horizontal. The second is vertical. And this third stroke is a dot. For the first horizontal line, try to angle it slightly upward toward to the right. The overall proportion should be roughly 2 to 1. This section looks much more beautiful if you image triangular balance here. For this curve, using the tips of the brush carefully to create a smooth and flowing line. And the form here, try to keep the dot aligned with the imaginary extension line. Leaving a small gap here also improves the overall elegance. Now, on to the next character. Try to write this one in a single continuous motion. The second and third stroke are the two dots. Pay close attention to the area I've circled here. Make sure to stop the brush firmly at those points. If you gently press the brush against the paper 2 or 3 times, you can create a much cleaner and more powerful shape. For the final part, stop the brush carefully and aim for smooth, graceful curve. And finally, the last character. I've drawn a guideline here. If you use this line as a center point and think in symmetrical halves, it becomes much easier to balance this character. The first stroke is a dot, and the second stroke begins along this extension line. At this point, firmly stop the brush, then slightly lift it while drawing delicately with the tips of the brush. And for the ending, rather than stopping adaptably, gently sweep the brush away to achieve a more elegant finish. Let's begin with the character RO first. This horizontal line here is the first stroke, and the second stroke is the vertical line. At this point, try to create a space that gently spread outward from the vertical line. A slightly winding from gives the character a much more elegant appearance. Next, this horizontal line becomes the third stroke, and this longest horizontal line is the fourth stroke. Try to keep the spacing between those lines evenly balanced. Then this vertical line becomes the fifth stroke. The next line is the sixth stroke, and the seventh and eighth stroke are the remaining horizontal line. At these sections, make sure to stop the brush firmly and create a clean finishing point. As you can see from the guideline I've drawn, try to make the final part of the sixth stroke slightly lower. This creates a more stable and visually pleasing balance. Now let's move on to the kanji Sora. First, we begin with the opening stroke at the top. Then comes the second strokes here. The third stroke starts with the horizontal line and finishes with a sweeping motion. After that, we continue with the fourth and fifth stroke. The sixth stroke is the horizontal line. The seventh stroke is the short vertical line, and the eighth and final and longest strokes curves slightly as it extends outward. When writing this character, try to image a central guideline so that both sides remain symmetrical. For the second stroke, write diagonally toward the lower lift, but finish by sweeping slightly upward to the left. This creates a much more grateful space. For the third stroke, keep the spacing near and even. Also try to align the lower edges of the fourth and fifth stroke carefully. The third stroke should finish with a confident sweeping motion rather than an abrupt stop. One important thing to remember when writing Sora is to image the character fitting nearly inside a rectangular shape. And for the 6th, 7th, and 8th stroke, think of a trapezium shape will help you achieve a more beautiful overall composition.